Inside, Clint sat in his study, the walls around him lined with fragments of legacy. Posters from his most iconic roles, Gran Torino, The Outlaw, Josie Wales, Unforgiven, hung like battle flags. Gold awards and old photographs stood proudly on the shelves, and in the center of it all, a worn leather armchair, shaped by years of quiet contemplation, cradled the man who had long ago become a symbol of stoic justice. At 94, Clint Eastwood may not have been the imposing gunslinger he once portrayed, but his presence was unchanged. His gaze hardened over decades of facing down both villains and life itself, but he still carried the weight of a man not to be underestimated. As he sipped from a glass of aged scotch that night, he believed he was alone. He was wrong. Several blocks away, hidden under the cover of night, a matte black van idled silently on a side street just off Desert Crest Lane. Its darkened and dusty windows revealed nothing of the men inside, but the danger was stirring. Inside sat Derek Hall, the quiet but calculated leader of the group. His jaw clenched, eyes fixated on a printed satellite map of the estate. Across from him, Eli Carter, the youngest of the three, thin, twitchy, and tech-savvy, fidgeted with a sleek device glowing faint green in the dim light. In the backseat sat Sean Briggs, the muscle and arms crossed over his chest, cracking his knuckles with rhythmic satisfaction. They had watched Clint Eastwood's estate for weeks. The lights inside the house had followed a near-perfect routine. No visitors, no movement outside past 9 p.m., no guard dogs, just one man, an old man. To Derek, it was an opportunity too good to be inside. Same plan, he said, voice low and steady. In, grab what we can, out before the nose were hitting. Eli glanced at the monitor in his lap, heartbeat audible in his breath. You sure the system's basic enough to kill? Derek didn't look at him. Old man like that probably doesn't even lock the damn windows. Sean chuckled, the sound low and humorless. Let's be real, this guy's half dust by now. They weren't scared, not yet. To them, this wasn't the legend song. It was just another score. They didn't know that Clint Eastwood wasn't just a man with a famous past. He was still a man who knew how to face danger head on. And tonight, he was about to remind them of that, the hard way. The van crept forward, headlights dimmed, tires nearly silent against the sun-bleached pavement. As it reached the gates of Rancho View residence, Derek Hall signaled for the others to gear up. The men moved with the practiced coordination of professionals, or at least, they thought they were. Sean Briggs stepped out first, his boots crunching softly on the gravel. Eli followed, hugging his tablet to his chest like a lifeline. Derek, calm and unflinching, approached the security man. With a flick of his wrist, he peeled back the cover and connected Eli's device. Within seconds, the feed to the external cameras blinked out. Inside, Clint Eastwood set down his glass of scotch. He had been watching. Earlier, he'd noticed a strange flicker on the security monitor. Too brief to be a glitch, too perfect to be random. Now, the screen had gone dark. Not all of it, just the live feed. His instincts stirred, cold and precise. Clint stood from his chair, moving not with the haste of panic, but with the slow certainty of someone who had faced danger far too many times to be rattled. He crossed the study to the entryway and reached behind the door. His fingers closed around the grip of an old, beaten baseball bat, scarred but solid, familiar. The gate creaked open. The intruders slipped through like shadows, ducking beneath manicured hedges and passing beneath lantern-lit windows. From the outside, the house looked dormant, peaceful. Just another night in the desert. But inside, the air was shifting. Clint moved through the halls silently, taking mental inventory. He noted which doors he could lock behind him, which corridors could funnel the intruders where he wanted them, which spots in the house were darker than others, and how could he still make them darker? He wasn't just reacting, he was planning. The older man with the weathered hands wasn't merely waiting for trouble. He was shaping the battlefield. Back outside, Derek gestured to the west side of the house. There, he whispered. Kitchen window. Probably hasn't been upgraded in stopped mid-step, head tilting slightly, the bat lowered, his free hand curling into a fist as he listened. The intruders were inside now. The air had changed, as if the house itself had inhaled. He stepped backwards into the shadows, the soles of his slippers gliding silently across the polished wood. He had no fear, not because he thought he couldn't be hurt, but because he had made peace with what needed to be done. He had lived many lives on screen. Tonight he was living one more, not for the audience, not for the critics, just for himself. Inside the house, the silence stretched tight as a tripwire. Eli Carter was the first to slip through the kitchen window, followed by Sean Briggs and Derek Hall. Their flashlights were loaded with red filters, sweeping the dim interior like the eyes of predators. Everything inside the house looked untouched, too perfect, too still. Posters framed with heavy wood hung on the walls, and awards glinted from high shelves. To Eli, it looked like a museum of forgotten gold. Guy thinks he's something, Sean muttered, brushing past a photo of Clint shaking hands with a former president. Focus, Derek snapped, his voice low but sharp. We're not here to admire the damn walls. In the shadows upstairs, Clint watched. He had chosen this position carefully, the top of the stairwell behind an old decorative screen, where the air vent's breeze masked his breath. The house was his. He knew its bones better than any man alive. And tonight, that knowledge was his right. He moved. Quietly and efficiently, he descended the side hall, unscrewing bulbs with practiced fingers and plunging key corridors into darkness. He locked doors behind him, herding the intruders inward. The maze began to take shape. Not chaotic, intentional. Eli peeled away toward a study, intrigued by a glint of glass behind a locked cabinet. Derek sent Sean to scout the dining room. They moved separately now, precisely as Clint intended. He took the moment. From the shadow of the hallway, Clint stepped silently into the study doorway. Eli's back was turned, crouched in front of the cabinet, his tools scattered beside him. Clint didn't speak. He raised the bat, and with a swift motion knocked the flashlight from Eli's hand. The room dropped into near complete darkness. Eli yelped, scrambling backwards. Clint was already gone, slipping back into the corridor like a shadow returned to the wall. What the hell was that? Eli's voice cracked as he called out, without no answer. In the dining room, Sean spun at the sound. Yo, you good? Clint, now above them again, timed his next move perfectly. A loose trophy, deliberately placed on the edge of a banister, clattered to the ground near Sean's feet. The sharp metallic crash echoed like a gunshot. Sean jumped back, flashlight jerking, beams scattering across framed photos of Clint on film sets and behind the camera. Someone's screwing with us, he muttered. No, Derek growled, entering the room with clenched fists. He is. The old man's playing games. The house was dark now, unpredictable. Every step felt wrong. Corridors led to dead ends. Doors that had once been open were now mysteriously shut. The three men regrouped in the living room, breath quick, nerves frayed. Clint watched from above, unseen. They're rapid, he thought. Good. He descended the back stairs, silent as a shadow, and reached the kitchen. Opening drawers, he shifted metal cutlery closer to the edge. He unbalanced a stack of pans on the counter and set a glass pitcher just barely on the lip of the sink. Each trap wasn't meant to injure, only to break their rhythm, make them doubt every step. Back in the hallway, Eli spoke through clenched teeth. This isn't right, man. The whole house. It's like he's everywhere. He is, Derek said, jaw tight. But he's still just one guy. We split up again, and this time, stay alert. It was the mistake Clint was waiting for. The house had turned against them. What was supposed to be an easy job now felt like a nightmare. The lights were out. Their flashlights flickered weakly. Every step echoed with unease. Every shadow felt like it might move. Eli Carter clutched his dead flashlight, hands trembling, eyes darting with every creak of the wooden floor. He's everywhere, he whispered. He's playing with us. We stick together, Derek Hall muttered. though the edge in his voice was gone. Sean Briggs, who had laughed earlier in the van, now held his crowbar with both hands like it was the only thing keeping him grounded. They regrouped in the living room, adrenaline still pulsing but no longer from excitement. Now it was fear. And then they heard it. A single sound from the stairs above. Sean turned. And that's when Clint Eastwood stepped out of the hallway. He moved into view calmly, a worn baseball bat resting casually across his shoulder.